The 14th of February 2023. It's St. Valentine's Day. You're welcome back to the channel. Now, several have said that they love to see the videos done outside, and that's what I was hoping to do, just out there with the hedges and all that. But the reality is, it's a very windy day. It's not that cold, it was cold enough, and it's a good bright day for doing work, but it's windy, and that will stop the camera from recording. You see, so I'm doing it this way. So the best I can muster is to open the door and let you have a bit of the blue sky and the trees and all of that. But I just want to talk to your common sense. You know the way I tend to talk a lot about law and environmental law and capacity credit and how wind energy works and all that kind of thing. But this is just a simple basic point. Since the foundation of the state in Ireland, the government was doing good works and public works. And in 1926, it set up the ESB, the Electricity Supply Board, and brought out legislation to enable them to build all their infrastructure, their power stations, their pylons, their electricity poles, and all that sort of stuff. And that was all very fine. Now, they had a monopoly for a long, long time. They had a monopoly till about 1985, I'd say. And it worked very well. They were also in charge of the rivers and that, and the fisheries, would you believe, inland fisheries, because they commanded the Shannon River for where the hydroelectric dam was at Ardnacrusha. But the point was that I better shut this door because it really is noisy out there with the wind. So sorry, I shut the door. That's better. No, the point I'm getting at is that there was a monopoly situation, but at least there was just the Electricity Supply Board making and distributing our electricity, and the result is you had very effective situation. It was affected by strikes back in the 70s a bit, but not too bad. Anyway, they deregulated it. But the point I'm making now is the ESB is still a major player in the electricity market in the Republic of Ireland. And its sister company, ESB Networks, is the company that does all the works, a lot of the works. The other companies like SSE and those, they're just come in and they just take the electricity and sell it out to you and give you some kind of a special deal. I fail to see what's the better. How can that be better? One efficient company with a monopoly like that and with all the lines should equally be as good as all these other ones who don't own the main power stations and distribution networks. Anyway, but the point is what has happened now, it's bad enough for us to have to pay for one electricity company in a monopoly situation, but we have an actual Trinity at the moment. You have Board Namona, a public semi-state body. Don't forget the ESB is 95% owned by the state, according to the paper. But you have the Board Namona, a company set up to harvest turf. And that's ending in the next while, and the executives and all of these people don't want to lose their jobs. They want to keep being Board Namona, the Irish Turf Board. But the reality is there's no turf going to be harvested at all. And so they have nothing to do. Now, it would seem to me the logical thing would be wind them up, get rid of them, do something with their land. But now what they want is they want to put wind turbines on it. They want to become major players in the generation of wind electricity. Now, I have made the point already that you can't use wind electricity on its own. Its contribution is very small when it's really counted well. It has to have fossil fuel generating power along with it. Now, add to that another point. Coilte, the State Forestry Board, is now trying to get windmills on its land because they feel that they're sort of past their sell-by date and they're not able to plant trees and do what they were meant to do. They're after signing a big deal with a company from Britain. They need to get a foreign company to come in to run the forests. But if they need to get a foreign company to run the forests, why are they there at all? I thought their job was to run the forests. Now, as well as that, in relation to the wind energy, there's a big heap of companies like BlackRock and all of these, and Green Coat Renewables, and they're all in on this now, putting in windmills and all that, and hoping to get paid from your bill and my electricity bill. So if we leave that aside a bit about the wind energy, what we actually have now is we have a Trinity. We have three companies. We have state-owned ESB, Electricity Supply Board. We have state-owned Board Namona, the turf board, and you have Coilte, all involved in the making of electricity. Board Namona is very bad way financially at the minute, but whatever it is, their hope is to bring them out of the doldrums by being the second player, in addition to the ESB, on wind electricity. They're not going to be making any fossil fuel electricity, and they don't have any hydro. They might get into the solar, I don't know. And then you have Coilte. So if we take it that ESB will be will have 100 in the amount of generating they do, Board Namona could have 40%, and Coilte could have 25%. And then you have all the private operators. So just think of all these. Just think. If we had just one electricity company, we'd pay a certain amount in our bills. But we're heading, and have already come to have three electricity companies. So that to me would mean our bills will have to go up 3 times, which is exactly what's happening. And not alone that, then there's all the other companies getting involved. The whole world appears to think that the Irish electricity bill payer can make them, keep them going, keep them sustainable, keep them happy, and keep them profitable. And in the last few years, the last few months, we have the government bailing out the windmills, giving people subsidies at home. They don't send them the money, they give it to them off the bill. So, did they know that government was eventually going to do this? Did they know that electricity bills were going to be paid by the taxpayer? And even if they do, and the bills go so high, do they not realise that businesses will need electricity, and if the bill goes too high, they won't be able to afford it? Many of the pubs, many of the hosteleries are forced to close because of the high prices of heating and all that. So the simple point I'm trying to make, folks, is we had one electricity generating and distributing company. The system owner, the ESB, and the system operator, ESB networks, call them all the ESB. Now we have Board Namona, the turf board, it's involved in it, taken out of our bill, and we have Coilte, the forestry board. Coilte is the Irish Forestry Board, all expecting to be paid from our electricity bill. And add to that, you have the pension funds that invest in BlackRock in America. You have several companies, you have Green Coat Renewables paying dividends, all from the bills of about 2.2 million people. 2.2 million. We're not even half the population of Birmingham. So if 2.2 million people can pay all this, I mean, what would happen in a place like Liverpool or Birmingham, even Bristol? I mean, the thing about it is, we're able to make all these huge companies profitable. And in places like Paris and all like that, if this is how richness can be developed, if this is how you can survive when your main core business is gone, like turf, why isn't the whole world living off the ESB and living off the power electricity? Why doesn't the Irish government simply invest in windmills themselves, and there would be no tax at all? They could pay all their services, their health service and all from a windmill. Do you get my point? Is it a good question? Comment underneath, folks. To me, it sounds ridiculous how you can just load all these companies every time they're facing redundancy, or when they're going by their sell-by date and when they should be shut down. It's what they throw the whole thing over on your electricity bill, and that's only onshore. There's a huge plan to put heaps and heaps of big turbines offshore. So along with paying the ESB, Bord na Móna, Coilte, and these big companies like Greencoat and BlackRock and all these huge big American pension funds and all that, along with paying them, we now have a huge big chunk of offshore. The whole Atlantic, Eamon Ryan has ordered Kerry County Council to get going on it. So it's going to be rows and rows of windmills all down, all with the handout for money. We know it's not assessed under the SEA directive, but does anyone see how 2.1 million people, consumers, that there's bigger population when you count the households and the few businesses, are going to pay for all that? They're going to pay for the whole lot. It's like if I wanted to sail to America and I had to buy a liner, a seagoing ocean liner, and go on my own. It is absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. I'd like you to have a think about it and give me a thumbs up and a thumbs down and express your opinion. They seem to think that if you can get generating electricity any way at all, irrespective of whether it's good or bad, you're on a winner. The money is going to pour in and it's going to come from the bill payers. See you back for something else soon.